Next, we're going to hear about how to turn a dumb IKEA table into a smart IoT device. So please give it up to Simonas Narbutas.
Good afternoon. I'm Simonas Narbutas, system engineer at Bolt.com. Most of you already know. So today's topic is about Internet of Things and do-it-yourself home projects. And instead of going through all the things available on internet and about all these huge varieties, I decided to pick one of my recent home projects. It's this IKEA table that I decided to turn into infinity mirror table. And to guide you through all of the process from planning to building to programming and testing, but not presenting. So, yeah. Before we move on, a bit about me. Besides being system engineer, I'm also a hobbyist that likes to tinker with art, electronics, and woodworking. Now, before I start guiding you, first let's talk what this talk is or is not about, just to now raise some expectations. So it's not about learning how to write your own libraries or code. It's not about how to manage your servers or services, and it's not to promote any kind of store. Well, what this talk is about what kind of IoTs are available in general for a home user. And I would like to shed some light of what kind of hardware and tools are available. I would really like to inspire you to get your hands on and start tinkering with. And I would also like to invite you to join a newly formed Bolt.com community. There's a funny story to that because when I first submitted my talk, my intention of this talk was to create such local community where we over coffee could talk about it, about the things we're doing and things we're building. But once the talk got accepted, I received a message from fellow colleague, Rick. He was inviting me to join the freshly created Bolt.com community about Arduino and all the kind of things. So you can look it up on Workplace, and I will provide a URL in the back of the slides. So, in this Internet of Things world, where does anyone start? I would first set your goal. What is that you're trying to achieve or learn? Because based on that, your approach might be different. And then I would just simply start with some image search, whether it is on Google Images or on Pinterest. Internet is swarming with the ideas, and whatever idea you came up with, there is a high chance that it has already been done. So it will help to speed up your learning process. And of course, join the community because, like I said before, people have already did it, and help them help you. Okay, so we got an idea today to build this infinity table. Let's go to some planning. And since it's this table, let me first explain what the infinity mirror effect is. It's when the light source bounces between mirror and the semi-transparent mirror, and on every cycle, some of the light escapes, this way creating optical illusion of the infinite depth. With this, you can create many things, like infinity mirror itself, or decorations, or tables, and there are many other ways. It's just how you decide that you want to do it. After you got the idea, start checking for the videos or instructables tutorials. There are walkthroughs, text-rich and picture write-ups that you can really follow, and that will not only help you to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, but that will also help you to create your shopping list, and which in turn will help you estimate your prices. It all comes together. And after you got all the items that you need for your project, as the old saying goes, measure 10 times, but in my experience, I noticed that it's safe to cut after sixth. Now, yeah, after that, you start connecting, programming, testing, yeah, the fun part. So the shopping list, quickly over this project, is you're gonna need a mirror and a glass, a semi-transparent mirror film, a power supply. Be careful when buying a power supply because based on your project, you're gonna need to calculate how much of the power your project gonna be drawing. So for example, this table has around 130 LEDs. Each of them are drawing 50 milliamps. That would be equal to like 6.5 amperes. But when I was testing it, I noticed that I had to reduce the brightness by 8 times for the effect to be pleasant. So that would not make sense for me to get this strong power supply. Instead, I could get away with a 2 ampere thing. Yeah, that's just a tip. Then you're going to need a addressable LED strip. For the microcontroller, I chose ESP8266 for a couple of reasons. Because it's like really highly available, it's cheap, it's a lot of communities are using it. That means that a lot of communities have a lot of knowledge and examples and libraries created for it. And you can program it in a C++ with the Arduino, but with the Arduino IDE. But you can also, there are GoBot where you can program it in Go, or NodeMCU where you can program it in Lua, or even MicroPython. So it also has a Wi-Fi module that you can just use it, and yeah, that's why I'm pretty much using it for everything I do. Then you're going to need a logic level shifter, and that is also a funny story because when I started doing this project, I kept wondering why after I connect everything, it just wouldn't work. It would keep on glitching, and then later on I learned that my controller was talking on a 3.3 volt logic, while the LED strip was expecting 5 volt logic. And while controller was talking ones and zeros, LED strip was receiving zeros and 0.5s, I guess. So it did not go well. Then there are cables, capacitor, and the resistor. That's pretty much it. So, before you start running around with the solder iron, you probably want to sketch some design. And I would recommend easyeda.com or averter.com. Those are cloud-based applications that you can get started really quickly. It's very simple. And what it also has, it has a constantly updated library where you can just search, look up your parts and just insert into your project. That will save you a great deal of time if instead of configuring all those parts yourself, you can just select, drag and drop it, connect it, and you're done. Like I said before, I'm using Arduino IDE for writing, uploading the code, and cloudmqtt.com for as a message broker, just for this demonstration purposes only, because at home I'm just using it on a Mosquito message broker on my home server Docker image. So It's really easy to start. If you run out of Cloud MQTT free user limitations, then you can just spin up a Raspberry Pi with that kind of Docker image. Now, what the phone is for? I'm using my Android phone for MQTT dashboard app. And there are many of apps available. If you just type in the Play Store or whatever store, you will. The benefits of it, there you just define your message broker, and then you can simply add one of the pre-programmed knobs or buttons or color sliders, and the only thing then you need to handle is the messages that they are sending to parse it in your code. And of course, do not underestimate the taking pics part, because now that you're part of the community, you're gonna want to contribute, and you will need some pictures. So I included this code just to show how simple it was to get this going. Like I just had to include a Wi-Fi library, a library for publishing and subscribing to a message broker, and a library to control the LED strip itself. And the code I used, I was just copy-pasting from community-provided examples or people who wrote those libraries. I did have to adjust it a little bit to parse the messages I was sending and receiving, but that's pretty much it. Okay, so now we're done with planning. Let's move to a gallery. Okay, the building part. One thing I like and hate about IKEA is that they replaced wood with carton. Yeah, that does not make very sturdy tables. However, if you cut out the top, you have this carton to deal with that you can just stick your fingers in and rip it out, so let's click and edit this table. Yep, done. In there, you can see I colored in in the red circle. I hid the power supply. After I handled the wiring and it was ready, I laid in the mirror, and then I had to build a frame where I will mount the LEDs, and also that frame is supporting the glass that goes on top of the table. And once everything's done, you just finish with painting. So you have like a woodworking part covered, like it's still covered with a tape. That helped me to use my jigsaw like in a more straight line than I usually do. So maybe some of you can do it better, but I needed that tape. So let's go to connecting. The fun part. Like I said, first we go to a design. Like you can see here, the only thing it has, like a capacitor to protect the LED strip, a resistor, a logic level shifter, and the microcontroller. So that's really as simple as it gets. And this is how it looks. Like once I took my experimental board, where I just plug in those two parts and some wiring. Well, I did some DuPont connectors, so I would be able to disconnect more easily, because if you go in the way that you solder and some LED strip gets broken, you want to replace it, there is just more work. Then, well, so you built it, you ran it, it worked, you hide it. And I let it hanging here just for demonstration purposes, but probably it cannot be seen. Well, it's in the picture. It's fine. Yeah, so you got the shiny frame. It's about time to mount it and present it. So you're definitely going to need a couple of cats because this is what sells today. I don't know. This is how the table looked without the top cover. So you can see a mirror. No. You can see a mirror and the frame and a little bit of space for the glass to go in, and this is the result. So now that we got the result, let's go to a demo. I showed like a little diagram. It's just how controller goes to the internet and receives the messages from a message broker. And now I'm gonna be posting some messages from my phone, and hopefully the table is going to receive it. Yeah, I tried to quickly find a way to display the screen, but it was just too much of the effort, so you're gonna have to trust me. But let's say I am setting a red color, and it's red. Now, anyone want to pick a color? A pink. That's an interesting choice, but here you go, you have a pink. Anyone want black? I'll give you black anyway. So it's... And I only pre-programmed only one color pattern, and well, reused actually from the library because I just liked it. I don't know what else I could do there, so I just kept it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you. Any questions?
Total cost of the project?
Sorry, come again?
Total cost?
Total cost. Yeah, so IKEA table is 20 euros. The rest of the parts, I first wanted to include that in slides, and I thought, nah, too much information. But okay, so you got me there. Something around 120 euros plus the table, because the table wasn't mine.
Including your payment, your work hours?
Oh, I do not charge myself for my working hours, sorry. So the question, how many hours did it take? It took me more of to build itself, like the table was in one day, and then programming was like an hour or two, but debugging why the 3.3 volt logic does not convert well into 5 volt logic. I just did not know there was a barrier there, so like I was testing everything, disassembling, assembling, you know, like, so that took a while. That took, but then I joined the community, and pretty much the same day I had my answer, and I thought, why did I not do that earlier? Yeah. So in total, I guess it would be 2 days once you know what you're doing. Yeah, I don't know how the picking goes. Yeah.
So what's going to be your next project?
My next project. I keep on having this, so we have cats at home, and somehow they just keep, at 4 o'clock in the morning, they keep wanting to come in, like to the bedroom, and that's really annoying. My next project, I got all the parts, I haven't started working on, is to have infrared receiver detecting the movement next to my door, and then with the servos, with a random movement, turning on the red laser dot, and chasing the cats away from the door. Thank you. Any more questions? I think I saw something. Oh, okay. Yes.
What is your first project?
My first project. Well, what was my first project? I think LED blinking. It's the most, it's like a hello world for programming and for programming. LED blinking is something like you will find with every guide on every microcontroller, or it was not really that. The blink meter was not my first project, but anyway, if you would start with a blinking project, probably you would be done with it the same hour, and you would not be invested in doing things by yourself. It's just not rewarding enough. And like I said, going on image search, defining what you want to build, and doing a little bit homework before starting building it, gonna be much more fun. And you can start with a proper first project instead of blinking. And about the blink meter was, I guess, once I started doing those kind of things, my first real project was I wanted to monitor my electricity, so I used the same microcontroller, connected light receiver, light resistor, and I was monitoring the blinking of my electricity meter, and over the wireless, I was exposing metrics that I am scraping on my home server and storing them in InfluxDB and representing in Grafana. Yeah, I guess I did not have enough time to show that, and the topic of this talk was more catchy than blink meter. Any more questions? Okay, well, thank you guys for coming. It was a pleasure.